Your mind truly is your most valuable asset, but you have to learn how to harness that power to work towards your advantage. It's a war zone in there. So you need proper tactics and a strategy to not only survive, but thrive. The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, my guests and I provide the skills for thinking bigger, overcoming adversity, and making an impact with your work. What's going on? You're listening to episode 149 of the Perspective Podcast. My name is Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective, and I'm here to help you build a killer side hustle outside your day job. At the end of each episode, I share a listener of the week, so stick around to figure out how you can get a permanent shout out on a future episode. I hope you enjoyed last week's switch up episode to get a small Baskin-Robbins sample taste of what the Side Hustlers coaching program has to offer. Again, if this sounds like something you feel could help you unlock that next level along your creative grind, sign up ASAP for the A-list waitlist over at sidehustlerscoaching.com. There, you're going to get all the details on the January 13th relaunch while getting first dibs on early bird enrollment rates, which you don't want to sleep on. Again, that's sidehustlerscoaching.com if you want to be one of the 10 selected for when the program reopens in January. So I take a mental health week off from the podcast every 7 weeks, and next week is an off week. But the following week after that is a big one. Not only is it episode 150, but we have Chris freaking Doe of the future on, and trust me, he does not disappoint. He packs so much value and practical action steps into our 1 hour conversation, and I have no doubt it's going to set you up for a game-changing 2020. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this one, as your hands are going to be sore with all the notes you'll be taking. I promise you this. And with that being said, tomorrow is Thanksgiving here in the States. I want to take a second to just thank you for giving the show a chance and sticking with me as the show evolves while I evolve over the years. There's lots of creativity-based podcasts and resources and content out there. And I know my style, my voice, and my approach isn't for everyone, and that's totally okay. It's supposed to be that way. Just know, with you listening right now, that it truly means the world to me that you vibe out and tune into what I'm trying to build here out of my little home studio, and soon to be my new home studio as we move houses here. By the time this comes out, we'll be moving. I try to create fuel for you when in reality, you're the fuel that drives me to keep showing up and pour my heart and soul into this every day, every week, every month, and every year that I've been doing this. And especially during this craziest season of my life, which I'll touch on later in this mini episode. So for real, thank you from the bottom of my pizza loving heart. Thank you for giving me a chance and growing with me, as you know, I'm here trying to blaze my own little trail on this earth's surface and tap into my own unique purpose. With that being said, today is a shorter one, and I know it's going to hit home with you if you deal with that same inner critic and negative self-talk that I deal with on the regular. So in order to win the war that wages daily in between your ears and design the life you want to live, my goal for this episode is to get you thinking bigger, believing in your abilities, and change the way you think and speak to yourself. Today's episode is brought to you by our family over at Retro Supply. Their biggest sales of the year are going down this Friday, and I'm hitting you up with all the links to save 55% off all their digital resources. I'm talking about the lettering library, their Illustrator, Photoshop, and Procreate bundles, their actions, their textures, their fonts, you name it, it's going to be 55% off. There's also going to be 25% off all their physical goods. So stick with me as I'm sending out all the links for you to get first dibs this Friday morning to my newsletter team. You're going to get it first. You can sign up for that over at sidehustlerswarchest.com. I'm also going to be slinging the deals in the Perspective-Collective Facebook group, as well as on my Instagram stories, so you can take advantage of these. And one last thing, anytime you use my special links, a small portion of the purchase goes right back into supporting the podcast, so it's a win-win. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you, Retro Supply, for making the dopest digital products on this planet. You can find the sponsor link as well as the show notes of this episode over at perspective-collective.com/149. And do me a favor, help me spread the good word if you found value in this episode. Please share a screenshot or a video of you listening or working to this in the background, and tag me on Instagram stories at Perspective Collective or Perspective Podcast, whichever you follow me on. I mean, that'd be dope if you follow me on both, but that's okay. That way we can connect and I can reshare the love back. As always, keep an open mind and act on anything that inspires you today. Let's go.
Isn't it ironic that the biggest thing holding you back from chasing what you want in life and with your side hustle is you? Yes, I'm talking to you. We tend to become the biggest obstacle in our way, which causes us to fail way before we even try to start. If you're like me, your inner critic constantly wages war in your mind, trying to convince you that 1, you're a worthless turd, 2, you have nothing of value to offer this world, and 3, dreaming big is a waste of your time. It's easier to live a small and passive existence. I spent around 25 years letting that inner critic twist my arm into digging self-sabotaging dark holes for myself. It's way easier said than done, but I've had to learn how to shout out over the inner critic so I can climb out of these holes I dug for myself and then sell off all my shovels. So I don't have to dig any more holes, all right? I'm done with that. They say your mind is your most powerful asset, but if you're like me, it can also be your biggest threat, especially if you deal with depression or deal with anxiety like I do. Your mind can be a threat. There's a constant war going on between the empowering voice of reason and the inner critic. The goal is to help the empowering voice win more often than not. And I believe if you can win the battle in your mind at least 4 out of the 7 days in a week, you're setting yourself up to unlock some incredible breakthroughs with your side hustle pursuits and just life in general. So quick, I'm a sports guy. Fun fact that's related to baseball. If you're batting 500, 5 out of 10 in baseball, that would cement you as a legend. You would be a legend, all right? You would be one of the best batters in the history of baseball. With that being said, winning the war more than 50% of your week puts you in a position to have some killer wins. The goal isn't to win every battle, but to win the war. And a great example of this is Game of Thrones. If you're a Game of Thrones fan and you know who Robb Stark is, aka the Young Wolf, when he was going against the Lannister army, it felt like he was winning every battle along the way, yet in the end, he still lost the war. So, again, this is all about winning the war here, not every battle. Today, I want to give you 3 ways to help you build that inner fortress to win the war each week while fueling your empowering voice of reason. All right, let's dive into this. Number 1, you're going to hear me beat this drum over and over and over again, but this one is so important, is accept that you're not pizza, all right? Tactic number 1, accept that you're not pizza. So this is my number 1 motto in life. You can't make everyone happy. You are not pizza. And I grew up a hardcore people pleaser because I craved acceptance, love, and I craved the glory from people that didn't even matter to me in the long run. All because I grew up just getting bullied and picked on and just severely tortured at home from my older brothers as well as in school. It sucked, and it formed me and molded me into this people pleaser. This mentality spilled into my work once I started finding my groove with my artwork around 26. And I ended up losing the joy of creating for me and showing up as my true self in my work because I was creating what I thought people that I'd never meet in my life would like. Doesn't that sound insane? But yet I'm sure you probably deal with it. You're probably out there creating something that you think someone's going to like, even though it doesn't truly vibe to your inner core or your inner crust, if we're talking about in pizza metaphors. But more recently, I think I was at Lewis Howes' conference, Summit of Greatness this year. And I heard this from Mel Robbins, and kind of put my own spin on it. So I learned that the only one opinion about you and your work that truly matters out of the 7 billion plus people on this floating rock in the universe is, you guessed it, it's your own. Your own opinion about you and your work. That is what truly matters at the end of the day. So instead of trying to get other people to love you and love your work and create for the masses, it's so important for you to love yourself as well as the work you create. And that's that ongoing theme of self-love. I love it. I'm learning to love myself more and more every day and embrace the flaws because that's what makes me unique. Again, easier said than done. But that's tactic number 1. Accept that you are not pizza. You can't make everyone happy. You're not pizza. Okay, so tactic number 2 is shout above the inner critic. Time to get loud and proud. Do whatever you got to do to stay up because it's so much easier to stay up than it is to get knocked down and have to pick yourself back up again. And ways to do that is fuel your mind, aka this podcast, Fuel for Your Mind and Creative Grind. And what I mean by fueling your mind is As cheesy and woo as this stuff sounds, there's science behind it. The most successful billionaires and millionaires in this world all revolve around positive affirmations, visualizations, and that stuff has been huge for me as a kid growing up who got picked on and bullied. Like, I had to build this fortress up in my mind. I had to instill belief and confidence in myself, and positive affirmations are huge for me. And I do this by looking in the mirror. Like, you got to get comfortable looking yourself in the mirror. If you can't look in your mirror and speak with confidence, that's something you got to work on. It's not easy. But I also do this with setting daily Siri reminders. At 6 a.m. every day, I have one that says, keep grinding, you got this. All right, that's 6 a.m. every day. It'll hit me when I'm in my office working, or maybe it's right when I wake up sometimes too at 6 a.m. And I'll get that immediately. I start my day off with a positive affirmation, or I will print and write little pick-me-ups all around me and place them in front of me so I can see them every day, whether it's in my office, on the mirror in my bathroom when I wake up, at the day job. At my day job and in my office, I have one that states, your kids don't care about your portfolio. Like, I keep that in front of me all the time. So what are some things that you need? I even just recently got tatted on my wrists. Some people don't like tattoos. That's okay. I didn't do these for you. Fun fact, someone DM'd me telling me that they're going to stop following me because I got tattoos of this on my wrist. On my left wrist, I have "You Belong Here." And on my right wrist, I have this is my personal affirmation that I live by, is "You got this." I end it with every podcast episode. And I got these the week before my coaching program launch, as well as in that same week, I had my first live podcast. So, I timestamped these in my memory, and I can look down and they always boost me and give me a little pick me up. So, get it tatted on yourself. If you want a tattoo, do something that's positive affirmations that you can look down and see to kind of reset your brain and fuel your mind. I like to think of this positive affirmation fuel as a TV remote, where you can mute the inner critic and then turn up the volume on the empowering voice of reason. And, that just gives you control. So if you can think about it that way, your positive affirmations allows you to turn up the volume and shout over that inner critic and keep that inner critic on mute a little bit more. So if that's a metaphor that can help you kind of relate to this a little bit more, then, go about it that way. This is your remote control. Wow, rambled. This is an important one too. It kind of feeds off the affirmations, and why you should be doing affirmations is because you truly become what you think. So say better things to yourself. And if you've ever read the book Think and Grow Rich, this whole concept of positive affirmations and using your mind to get what you want and visualize success. Again, all the stuff that the biggest names, the biggest, most successful people in the world talk about. This is what it is. And you can put this into your arsenal. All right, use this in your tool belt. Build up that inner fortress is what I'm trying to say. And I go deep in this in episode 97, so perspective-collective.com/97. This one's titled A 4-Step Blueprint for Kicking Major Ass in Life in Your Creative Grind. And it's something I referenced from Marissa Peer, who was on an episode of Lewis Howes' The School of Greatness. She will absolutely blow your mind. She has an episode titled Your Thoughts Will Heal or Kill You. And it's so true. So start saying better things to yourself. Instead of saying, man, I suck. Life sucks. What could possibly go more wrong today? If you believe in the law of attraction, which is a real thing, scientifically proven, like attracts like. So if you're starting off each day and your day's shitty and you're wondering to yourself, how could this get any worse? And voila, it becomes worse. It's because you're attracting it. You're putting that shit out into the world. You're putting yourself on that negative frequency, and negativity is going to come back to you. But when you fill yourself up with good, you consume good, you tell yourself great things are going to start changing in your life. Trust me, after being someone who lived 25 years living this victim mentality, this has massively changed and is a huge catalyst to any success I've had outside of doing a day job, a family, a kid, a podcast, freelance. So say better things to yourself. Shout above the inner critic. That's tactic number 2, which I could have summarized way quicker, but it is what it is. Tactic number 3, embrace the chaos and roll with the punches. This is all about adversity. A true test of your character, however, is how you respond to adversity. All right, character as well as integrity. Adversity is always going to be coming. It's always looming on the horizon. What are you going to do and how do you respond? Responsibility means that you have the ability to respond to whatever life throws at you, and expect life to throw you curveballs versus slow, underhand pitches, like if you're playing softball, it's way easier to get a hold of one than in major leagues where life is throwing you fastballs and curveballs. But it's your job to step up to the plate and swing. And the more at-bats you get, the more opportunities you give yourself to hit that home run. If you shy away when life is throwing you adversity and you shy away from the plate and you just want to cower and live passively and blame everyone else for your problems, then how are you going to hit a home run? How are you going to catch a breakthrough? How are you going to grow in life and get what you want? All right, so when life throws you curveballs, step up to the plate and hit a home run. All right, you'll strike out. You're going to pop up. You're going to hit a grounder into a double play. That's fine. That's a part of the process, but you got to get up to the plate. You got to keep swinging when life throws you curveballs. Or when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. You could just say that too if that relates to you more. But another important step to embrace the chaos and roll with the punches is make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with a squad of souls that you can rely on. You can openly and transparently, in a safe space, talk to them when you're dealing with rough patches. When you're surrounding yourself with negative people who blame the world, it's going to rub off on you too. You got to trim the fat and get around like-minded people who are doing what you strive to do, or where you're all doing something and striving to get to the same goal. Surround yourself, attach yourself, latch onto these people. That's why I go to conferences to find my people. That's why I created the Facebook Perspective-Collective community, so you can find these people so you're not isolated or you're not surrounded with the negativity, okay? You gotta trim the fat. It's so important. So this is what I mean by embrace the chaos. Know that hard times are coming your way and roll with the punches. And real quick, I told you I would catch you up on my life. So as I record this, I'm recording this November 1st, so way out in advance because I have to get ahead on this stuff. So I'm speaking into the future right now as this drops. But for me, this week, on Monday, we listed our house for sale. The last couple weeks, I think I can tell you the news now. I mean, right now, we haven't publicly announced it, but I'm going to tell you first. We found out in September that little pizza roll number 2 was on its way, which we were not expecting that, okay? We were at the Summit of Greatness. We must have had a really good time because we come home and we found out baby number 2 is on the way and due in May, like May 20th. From there, we're like, holy shit, we don't have enough room in our house. We love our house. It's awesome. But we're like, dude, we need to expand. In my office, my studio needs to expand for sure with lighting and equipment and recording setup. So we're like, okay, we got to find a house. We didn't expect to find something so quick, but we did. We listed our house within a week. So this past Monday, we put our house up for sale. We listed it on Zillow, all this with an incredible realtor. Within 24 hours, we have an offer. We sold our house. On that same Monday, we put in an offer on a house that we loved. And by Wednesday, we closed on the house that we loved too. And then a couple days later, as I record this, I'm driving to Texas here in a couple hours to go visit my new nephew down in Georgetown, a little bit above Austin. But this whole week, this whole month of preparing, actually since September, preparing for the coaching program, then my wife dropping me that news right before the program starts, right before I do the live podcast, and now all of this house searching and decluttering. It's just been the craziest week of my life. But in the Russell household, our motto is roll with the punches, and that's what we do here. That's what we do in the Russell residence, is roll with the punches and embrace the chaos. And I want to encourage you, to take what life has to offer and, squeeze whatever juice is worth squeezing out of that situation. So, and finding that silver lining. Whew. All right, as we wrap things up, your mind truly is your most valuable asset, but you have to learn how to harness that power to work towards your advantage. It's a war zone in there. So you need proper tactics and a strategy to not only survive, but thrive. You don't have to be perfect going into this fight, as a boxer can go into a fight and win any fight without winning every round. Again, we're shooting to win 4 out of 7 days each week, so we can constantly make progress and keep the inner critic on mute. So do me one quick favor and remind yourself daily of these 3 things and use them as your fuel and your motivation. 1, you're not a worthless turd. 2, you have so much value to offer this world. And 3, by not dreaming big, you're wasting your finite time. So get out of your way and win the war in your head to design the type of life you want. PC family, I hope this episode empowered you to change your perspective and challenge the way you approach each day. Everything starts with your mind and mindset, to be exact. Sharpen your mind and use it to your advantage and take control of your remote, that positive affirmation fuel, to help you get the results you want. If you think someone else needs to hear this message, please share it with your friends, your family, or your following. It makes a bigger impact than you think. And again, next week is a mental health week for me. But stay tuned for the following week with episode 150 with Chris Doe of the future. I'm so stoked for this one. This is, I hate to say this is probably my most favoriteest episode I've ever done. All right. And that's saying a lot because I've had a lot of amazing, beautiful conversations with incredible, talented people. So this is saying a lot. If the show has helped you along your creative grind, there are two ways you can support what we're building here. First off is by financially backing the show on patreon.com/perspectivepodcast, like my family at Iron Bean Coffee Company does. The second way is by subscribing and leaving a rating and review over an Apple Podcast /iTunes. Not only does this help the show climb up the charts in the design arts category to reach our 2020 goal, but it also cements you as a permanent listener of the week. Like this week's listener of the week comes from Zahouse from the US, and it's titled Your Daily Creative Wisdom. They state, Scotty does an amazing job of bringing tons of wisdom and inspiration for all the creatives out there trying to elevate their game and stay consistent. Whenever I need a little push and some motivation to keep creating, I listen to this podcast to keep me going and staying motivated. Scotty truly makes you feel like you are part of the community of like-minded individuals. Thanks for all that you do, Scotty. Keep grinding and sharing all your wisdom. Zahouse, thank you so much for tuning in. Whenever you need it, this podcast is here for you. If you can't hit it weekly, that's fine. It's always here for when you need that boost. And I appreciate people like you just taking a small moment out of your day to leave a review like this. It means the world to me. And as I wrap things up, I got to give a huge shout out and a thank you to my podcast editor, Anya Brennan, my executive assistant, Paige Garland, and my video specialist, Colton Bacher. You three are the glue that keeps this show held together. And finally, huge shout out to Nick Jenkins of Bluka for all the dope theme music you hear on this show. Go and support him and listen to his music over at Spotify, SoundCloud, as well as Instagram. That's Bluka, BLOOKAH. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.